Happy Labor Day weekend to all of you. Welcome to another edition of Bardo's Breakdown. I'm your host, Stephen Bardo. I know, man, the end of summer came too quickly. It was a lot of fun. And, man, we've been having some beautiful weather here in Chicago the last week or so. It's been beautiful. I hope it's beautiful where you are. Hope you guys are licking your fingers on some good barbecue or whatever kind of food that you're enjoying. I hope you're enjoying it. Hope you are enjoying your beverages responsibly, and I hope that you are having a great time with your loved ones and friends if that's who you choose to spend your Labor Day with. Got a good one today. Got an interview with Wisconsin assistant Sharif Chambliss. Very informative interview, and I think you guys understand that have been in the Big Ten Conference, that have been fans of the Big Ten Conference for quite a while. You know that when Wisconsin gets old, they're pretty good. Well, they're pretty good this year. They got 10 juniors, seniors, and grad assistants. Those three classifications, they've got 10 players that are juniors or above. So Sharif Chambliss is going to break down for us what we can expect from the Badgers this season. We got the next five in the Bardo's top 50 Big Ten players ever. I've got a very spicy Flyin Illini story today. I thought I'd slip this one in. This one might not get viewed as much, but I wanted to get this story in. I think you guys enjoy it, and then I'll take your questions, all right? So happy Labor Day. Sit back and enjoy. Undo your belt buckles since your stomach is full from all that good food, and enjoy this edition of Bardo's Breakdown. Here we go. What's going on, y'all? It's your man, Stephen Bardo, coming back at you with another special edition of Bardo's Breakdown. I've got my man, Sharif Chambliss, Wisconsin assistant coach. Coach, thanks for joining us today. How you doing?
Thanks for having me, Steve. It's good to be here. Just too much orange and blue on the surrounding of the screen, man. And you know I had to say something right away.
Hey, you got to keep it real, Coach. I appreciate it. I know you prefer to be red, but that's all good. We're all Big Ten here, so that's good. I like starting out like that.
Still got a bitter taste. I mean, we lost in the Big Ten championship to that blue and orange team down south. So
yeah, so it's a let's call it a healthy rivalry instead of a kind of a nasty rivalry. If Illinois goes
it's
south,
definitely a healthy one.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So, Coach Sanders, I'd like to give our viewers a sense of some of your background and how you got into the coaching game. What? Tell us about your background, your playing background, and how you were able to transition into coaching.
Growing up, some of the guys that had the most effect on my life, had the biggest effect on my life, were coaches. My dad was a coach. He ran the Brace Center AAU team where some of those guys from Illinois would drive up. Will Bynum, Karan Butler, longtime NBA vet, now assistant coach with the Heat, was playing with them. I remember guys like Luther Head coming up to work out at the Brace Center. Alex Scales was bringing like Sean Marion. So we had a lot of talent running through that area. But just watching the effect that my dad was able to pour into other guys' lives, I think that had a major effect on why I wanted to coach. Another guy that from Illinois that had a major effect on my coaching career and my trajectory in it was Rob Jeter, Chicago guy.
Yep.
But Coach Gard, just to be here at Wisconsin again and work with Coach Gard and the rest of the staff has been a great opportunity, and I've really enjoyed it thus far.
You know, Coach, you really seem to have a nice pulse on the program and your players. You know, I get a chance to see you on the road. Saw at the Big Ten tournament. Is it all right if we kind of go through your roster to kind of familiarize our viewers with some of the newer faces on your roster?
That sounds great.
Okay, so you guys got a nice trio of transfers coming in. Can you touch on each of these guys? Cameron Hunter coming in from Central Arkansas, Xavier Amos coming in from Northern Illinois, and John Tanjay
Tanjay, yep.
Tanjay from Colorado State. Can you give us a sense of those guys?
We'll start with John Tanjay. He's older, experienced veteran. Just coming off an injury. He was at Missouri for a year. Was over at Colorado State. Really at his athleticism starting to come back. He's really strong, really good, big wing. Great kid, unbelievable kid from Nebraska, and we're really excited to have him here as for veteran leadership. He's been great to work with so far this summer. Cameron Hunter, left-handed point guard, bulldog, pit bull. Some people look at some of his pictures like he should probably be playing football instead of basketball, but he's a big point guard. Really good leader, really mature kid for his age. We have him for 2 years, hopefully. And then the last one, Xavier Amos. We needed some skill at that position. One of your favorite guys is gone now, Tyler Wall, who was really good. He was a Swiss Army knife at the 4, kind of like a point forward. The only thing Tyler's weakness was when he was here in college was his ability to shoot the 3. And I think we've covered that up with bringing in Xavier, a Chicago product out of Whitney Young. So excited to have Xavier here with us.
You know, Coach, I think I'm going to hit on Cameron and Xavier for a second because Cameron Hunter, he got injured and kind of fell off, I think, the radar a little bit, but he was outstanding before his injury. How has he come along since that time?
He's bounced back, obviously going through the recruiting process, speaking with the coaches down there. He was a dog in practice because he practiced with them. The injury had happened early enough where he was able to have surgery, get back, and practice with him throughout the year, and he was really good. But he showed a lot of maturity. I mean, obviously he has a will to win, but I think for him, just being able to prove that he belongs here, he has that chip on his shoulder, and he comes out every day and tries to show that.
And Xavier Amos, I mean, the skill set that he possesses, it's weird that players seem to get lost at Northern Illinois and DeKalb, Illinois. I've never understood why. But this is when I watch his film, I'm wondering why a lot of people around the country weren't on this young man as hard as you all are. Can you share what, some of his uniqueness and his special abilities are?
First of all, his size. I mean, for his size, 6'8", 6'9", being able to handle the ball, you could put him on the wing. You could put him. He's probably more comfortable at the 4, which is what we'd like to play him at most of the time. But his ability to shoot it, I mean, he can rebound. He can start the fast break right away by himself, but pushing it on the floor, putting it on the wood. But his ability to shoot it is going to be able to change some of the shapes of the defense for sure.
Okay. And then let's transition over to your incoming freshmen because you got some guys here that are very interesting. Daniel Freitag at the point, Jack Robinson.
Yep.
Robinson from Lakeville North, and then this other kid, Andrea Vukovic from Serbia. Can you start out and give us a sense about Daniel Freitag because he comes in highly with a lot of expectations on his plate?
Highly touted freshman. He was as good as football player as he was a basketball player. I mean, Wisconsin football offered him also. We're excited to have him. The recruiting process for him was a few years. So just being able to watch his maturity and watch his growth as a player was really good. I was at 2 of the playoff games on their way to when they won state. We were playing up there for the Big Ten tournament in Minnesota and was able to make it over to some games. Just a natural point guard. He plays with a lot of flair, really athletic. We're really excited about him. I think his best basketball is still ahead of him. He's, obviously freshman. They're going to go through some ebbs and flows.
Yep.
But, he's one that's going to put the work in. That's one thing we do know about Daniel. He's going to put the work in, and he's ready to prove to people what he can do.
Okay.
Now Jack is. I watched a lot of Jack's games in AU. Really, really talented. 6'7", long. Just has a knack for the ball. Can really score it. I think he has to get stronger. He knows that. But really good knack for the game. Really good knack for the game, and we are really excited to get him.
Okay. And then what about Andrea Vukovic?
Right as of right now, I'm not sure how it's going with him. I think he still has some stuff he has to get done, but the film we watched on it, it was pretty good. So
Okay. Let me go back to Jack Robinson for a second. Uh, I know the University of Minnesota has to be hot as fish grease at you guys because you continue to mine that Lakeville, Minnesota.
you're poking a bear. You're poking a bear, Steve. I know you down there in that orange and blue. Don't poke that bear.
I
You
don't
got
want
a
to
friendly
poke.
relationship with those guys over in Minnesota.
I know. I don't want to
Jason
poke the
Kidd is my
bear,
man.
but
Ben Johnson's great coach.
yes, he is, and they're doing a great
They're
job.
doing a great job.
And you know what? It's a testament to how talent rich that area is. That you know you're looking at at least two Big Ten programs that consistently get high quality players out of that region. This Lakeville North High School, where Tyler Wall, Nate Reavers, and Nolan Winter come from. Why is that area so special, Coach?
I don't know. It's just been good to us. When Coach Guard was an assistant for Coach Ryan, he was really hitting the Minnesota grounds hard up there on the recruiting trail. And as he's transitioned into the head coach, Joe Krabnoff's done a great job up there, staying in Minnesota. He has family up there, so it's a great spot for him to be at. And we've been lucky to get some really good players out of there.
Yeah, I'd say so. And if this young man is anything like these three that I mentioned, because I really like Nolan Winter, and we'll talk about him here in a little bit. One of the things that jumped off the page for me when I was doing a little research, 10 Badgers are juniors, seniors, or grad students. Like that's you guys have as much experience as anybody in the conference. Why do you think that's being overlooked right now?
I still think Wisconsin's being overlooked. I mean, you look at the sustained history we've had here, sustained success we've had over the past 10 years. I mean, I don't know why people still overlook us. And you can go back in the history books as long as you want, but sustained success over the past 10 to 20 years, I don't think anybody's doing it as well as we are. Obviously, we went to a couple Final Fours in there. We got to get back. But the success here has just been steady.
I agree.
And we keep going. Getting old and staying old is obviously how you win in college basketball. I think a lot of programs are finding that out. The freshmen, I mean, it's going to be roster management is going to be a whole different thing than it was over the past 5 years ago. When you're recruiting transfers, obviously you're not trying to recruit sophomores, but guys that have experience. Because when you bring freshmen in, they still got to take their lumps, they got to take their bumps, and they can be good. But are you going to have a freshman come, or are you going to have an older 22-year-old veteran that's been in college for 3 or 4 years, knows how it works, knows what it takes to win? So getting old and staying old fast, and for us being able to have 10 juniors and seniors or grad students, we're excited about the experience that this team has. Just trying to put them all together now.
You know, you mentioned roster management, Coach, and NCAA extends the scholarships from 13 to 15. For you guys, you already seem like for years that you've got your process in place. Even with the transfer portal, you've integrated that very smoothly, in my opinion, because you are still the bedrock of your program, in my opinion, is player development and coming into your system. What do you think different programs around the Big Ten will they utilize those two additional scholarship opportunities for more? Will we go back to more high school guys? Will there be a blend of transfers, or will guys try to bring in more transfer portal players, as you mentioned, to get a little bit more veteran players on the floor?
I really think there'll be a blend. I mean, you have the staples in the conference. Illinois has done a great job. Purdue's done a great job. Michigan State's done a great job with development. But I think we'll see more of a blend. Just bringing in the high school guys and trying to get them there. I mean, it's tough. Certain guys you have to recruit. I mean, you got to have some young guys in there so you have some consistency within the program where they're learning from the older guys. And by the time the older guys are going, they're coming in, and then we're bringing somebody else in behind them. So you got to have the young guys. But overall, I just think that the blend, I think just roster management, I don't think you can just go recruit a whole bunch of kids from the AAU scene or high school scene. Right. You got to be able to bring them all together, especially with the transfer portal, the way it's working.
That's well said. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Bardo's Breakdown. I'm pleased to be joined today by Wisconsin assistant coach Sharif Chambliss. And coach, this is something that has been, you talk about the sustained success and the consistency, high level consistency that this Badgers program has had for the last 20 years. There's one thing that happens almost every season with the Badgers. You guys have a forward or a center or big that comes into your program that develops year after year and then has a breakout season. You've got three guys. Well, Carter Gilmore was a mainstay in the roster, but you've got three potential guys that have breakout potential, in my opinion. Chris Hodges, Marcus Ilver, Carter Gilmore. Do you anticipate one of those three making that jump like you've seen in the past?
We would love to see it. I think all those guys have been working. They've definitely put in the work this summer. I think especially for Marcus, I think Marcus, his confidence, if it comes along with the work he's been putting in, which I hopefully it will, and he keeps shooting it as well as he has thus far this summer. I would love to see him have a breakout senior year.
Okay, and to me, when I first saw Marcus Ilver, I think I was talking to you guys like, man, he looks like he's got everything. He can shoot it. He can put it on the deck enough. He's got a nice active body.
Really pass it. Yep.
Yeah. So it sounds like it was a matter of confidence. Is that what it's basically come down to?
I believe so. I think just getting comfortable and finding his role, his just being a star in his role. I think that's what it is for Marcus, and if he's able to knock down some shots, that'll give some confidence. But he's been doing a great job for us so far this summer, and we're really excited for the opportunity that he's ready for this coming year.
And coach, you've got really two guys that I really want to touch on in terms of Max Klesmit and also John Blackwell. What are you expecting from them this upcoming season? Like what things have you talked to them about? What are some of their goals and what they were trying to do? What do you anticipate out of those two guys who are going to be two key components to your program?
Well, Max Klesmit is, I call him the ultimate competitor. You can't tell him he can't do anything because he's going to try to prove that he can.
I love it.
I guess he went golfing with some of the guys. He hit the ball well over 300 yards. The kid can, he's a strong kid.
Oh, he can play golf like that?
Oh, he can play. Yeah. I don't know if he's the best on the team because they said Jack Robinson. I think they have an outing coming out here in the next week. The team just going out by themselves and playing. So, but Max is defensively, the way he chases, he's probably one of those guys that looked at when he was coming out of high school, like, oh, they label him probably as like a mid-plus guy. He did a great job down at Wofford. But we looked at those guys. He's kind of like a Brad Davison, kind of hard-headed. You ain't going to be able to tell him what he can't do because he's going to show you that he can do it and do it at a high level. But just his competitiveness is off the charts. So looking for him to be a big-time leader this year. If there's anybody that can jump on anybody, how hard they work at practices, it's probably going to be Max. But the mainstay is a former Illinois guard's son, John Blackwell, that we're happy to have in red and white. I know you would rather see him in another color, but he loves red and white, and we love him red and white.
No, Coach, we knew that he was going to Wisconsin, so we were if he's happy about it, we're ecstatic. So it's all good.
He's a big time fit. Everybody I talk to, he's a lot of people's favorite player. Just how hard he plays defensively, he gets after it. He shot the ball pretty well last year. In his high school career, he shot it well too. But another really, really competitive guy. Now we've had to talk to those guys a little bit because they bark at each other. You got Max on one end, you got John on one, and they are, ain't nobody backing up. When they hit each other, they're going. So I think we'll be good on the wing with those two as long as we can stay healthy.
And Coach, is there anything that you want to get across to our viewers that I didn't mention about your program or anything that we need to know about?
No, excited to have Kamari McGee back. He had a tough injury last year, and he let the tissue on the bottom of his foot kind of heal up, it's a little scar tissue, and played with a steel insert in his shoe last year. I don't think a lot of people knew that, but he's back healthy after surgery. He had surgery after the season, and we're really happy to have him back. We think he's a spark plug for us. He's an emotional leader, and definitely one of those guys is not going to get outworked. This team is it should be a fun team to put together. We're excited to finish out working with them with the summer, and then excited to get rolling. I think it'll be a whole different look for the Big Ten when we got to go way out west. I know. Look at how do you feel about that, Steve?
I mean, Coach, I'm going through the research, man, and the Big Ten is what has been, or obviously the premier conference in the country. But bro, when you add these different styles and these coaches and this depth, I mean, people in the Midwest forget how good Dana Altman, what kind of coach he is, and the consistency. Oregon hasn't been as consistent as Wisconsin, but it's been close in terms of them making the tournament, in terms of them being in the top 5 of their conference.
They're always going to have talent.
Oh man. So I just think, from a research standpoint, I'm glad to be a color commentator, because if I had to be a coach in this league, this gauntlet of a league, and all the things that you guys have to, the different styles of play that you have to, prepare for, is going to be amazing. And what are your general thoughts on the expansion of the league?
It's interesting. I mean, like you said, we're going to have a lot of contrasts of styles of play. I mean, we've matched up with Oregon, I think, in the first round of the NIT when we went out there. It'll be really interesting. I mean, we got to go to LA. Like, just think we got to go from LA to, we'll probably stop in the Midwest, and then we'll probably go out east to Rutgers.
Yep.
I mean, since you played and since I played, the Big Ten's changed a lot. I think when I was at Penn State, we were the last team that had entered the Big Ten at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Now they've been here for a long time, so it'll be interesting this year. But again, the best coached conference, the deepest conference, the most statewide. I mean, it takes over the whole United States. And one thing we know is that the Big Ten make men.
Yes.
And they make women too. They make great women. But the basketball being played, I think it'll be great for the fans. Tough for the coaches. We know, but it's part of it.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you understand now why I wanted to have Sharif Chambliss on with us. Engaging guy. I love catching up with Coach on the road. We have fun laughing and joking around, but in all seriousness, really have a lot of respect for you, Coach. Thanks so much for joining me here today on Bardo's Breakdown.
Hey, thank you for having me. Thank you for the Wisconsin fans for tuning in, even though you got all that blue and orange around the screen. We'll be all right on that. I wish I had hair like you, Steve. I tell you that, though. Have a great one, my man.
Oh, that's good, man. Hey, Coach, thanks so much for your time, brother. I appreciate it. And, I'm all right. So you guys understand now why. What is going on here? All right, here we go. You guys understand now why I wanted to have Coach Ooh, I'll get it right here in a second. Thank you to Coach Sharif Chambliss for coming on. Big Ten veteran. He played at Penn State, played at Wisconsin. Now he's coach at Wisconsin. You see the insight that he has. You see the excitement that he has with this roster for this season coming up. So great insight. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you got something from it that you can take, because we're 2 months out, only 2 months out before the start of college basketball season. And you're not going to get information anywhere else except right here on Bardo's Breakdown like that. So once again, thank you to Coach Sharif Chambliss, Wisconsin assistant. All right, moving on. Let's hit up the next 5 in the top 50 players. And like every time we reveal these 5, we got some ballers. Now, this one is reaching back a little bit. Cazzie Russell, I had the pleasure of interviewing him a couple years ago, and just a delightful guy. And he's a historian, Chicago native, and went to Michigan and had as good of a Big Ten career as any player that's graced the hardwood in the Big Ten Conference. 3 consecutive Big Ten championships. He and Bill Bunton formed a dynamic duo of forwards that led the Wolverines to 3 straight Big Ten championships, 2 Final Fours. They lost one of those championship game in a championship game to UCLA, 91-80. He averaged almost 31 points per game, was a National Player of the Year in 1966, the number 1 overall pick of the New York Knicks, and an NBA champion. Cazzie Russell, class personified, shared a story on Bardo's Breakdown about wearing combat boots and running to get in shape, to build his legs and do some very unconventional things to get prepared for the season. And so he lives in Florida, is enjoying his life, and he was a delight to talk to. But boy, I tell you what, when you go and do the research and the numbers that he put up at he's 6'5", 6'6", but just played the power forward position, but was just a dominant athlete. Cazzie Russell, one of our top 50 players. This next gentleman loves Steve Smith, love him to death. And you're not going to find anybody that has a bad word about the guy. Again, class personified. You guys have seen him on television. You've seen him come back to his beloved Michigan State and has donated. He's made his presence felt. He and his wife and his family are just salt of the earth. He's number 2 all-time leading scorer in Michigan State history behind Sean Respert. He finished his career as a leading scorer, and then Sean came soon behind him. 2-time first team All Big Ten, second team All-American. I don't know what the hell they were thinking about putting him on the second team. Should have been first team. 5th overall pick in the 91 draft by the Miami Heat. He's an NBA champion. He's an NBA All-Star and does a fantastic job for TNT, covering TNT and NBA TV, and does a NCAA tournament with he bounces between the different networks that covers the NCAA tournament. But Steve Smith, guys, he had that move. He had that patented move, and he's a freshman. And I know it's coming. I'm an upperclassman. I'm guarding him. I know he's about to hit me with this move. I saw film on it. I saw everything. And Steve had this where he's going with his left. He's going fast, and he hesitates, and he acts like he's gonna pivot the other way, and he slams his right arm into you, hits you, gets you off balance, and he's at the rim before you even know what happens. One of his patented moves, and you had to guard him coming across half court because he could shoot it from the parking lot. Steve Smith, one of the toughest guys I guarded in my college career, and a great guy. Always love seeing Steve. Next up, this was a young man I really enjoyed covering, Lamar Stevens at Penn State. Number 2 all-time scorer in Penn State history behind Taylor Battle. 2-time first team All Big Ten. He's been in the NBA with the Cavaliers, Celtics, and Grizzlies. He made it as a free agent, ladies and gentlemen. He was not drafted. He got it out of the mud. And he's a tough dude from Philly. I believe he was a high school teammate of Tony Carr. They won a Pennsylvania high school state championship, and he's a delightful young man to converse with. I really enjoyed getting to know Lamar. I am just ecstatic for his success and continued success to Lamar Stevens, one of the tougher matchups during his era of the Big Ten, and a great guy. Next up, this guy here, ladies and gentlemen, if he could have overcome his alcohol and drug abuse, he might have gone down as one of the best players the game has ever seen. He's definitely one of the most skilled players the game has ever seen. Roy Tarpley was the Big Ten Player of the Year in 1985, 2-time All-American, the NBA's Sixth Man of the Year in 88. He was banned from the NBA for his alcohol and drug abuse. And he ended up playing, I believe he was in Greece, overseas. I think it was Italy and Greece that he played. Died far too young at the age of 50. I'm not exactly sure the cause of death, but I would assume that it might have been related to some of the alcohol and drug abuse, similar to what Roy Marble dealt with. In terms of Roy died from a form of cancer, but I believe that was exacerbated by some of his drug abuse as well. And so tragic that he did not see his potential, because Roy Tarpley, guys, at 6'11", Roy was skilled enough. He could handle the ball well enough. He could have run the point guard position. He definitely could have played the 2 because he could shoot it with range. He could play with his back to the basket. He was a guy that was before his time, and it was just sad to see that he could not reach the heights that his potential had, because you ask any player that came through in our era, you ask them about Roy Tarpley, they will tell you he is one of the most talented players they've ever played against or ever watched. So Roy Tarpley, one of our top 50. And the last, and certainly not least, my man, my Mella, Deon Thomas, fighting the Illini. All-time leading scorer in Illinois school history, enjoyed a 14-year pro career. Now, he got drafted by the Mavericks, but Deon went overseas, and he played in Spain, Israel, Greece, and Russia. Was a 2-time EuroLeague champion. He really made his mark in Israel with a number of teams, with Maccabi Tel Aviv. He played with a couple of different teams that the names escapes me right now. But Deon Thomas, one of the best to ever do it in the Big Ten, and just a great guy. Is the radio color guy for the Illinois basketball now, and is a guy with, talking about footwork. There's not been very many bigs that have graced the Big Ten Conference that have the footwork that Deon Thomas possessed. Just an incredible scorer, incredible guy. And that rounds out, thank you, Ryan, for throwing that graphic up. That rounds out our top, the 5 this week in Bardo's top 50. All right. Now, we'll go to this Flyin Illini story. Now, when I say Flyin Illini stories, I talk about my 4 years at Illinois. This is during my freshman year, and this was the buildup to that Flyin Illini team. So I talk about certain things that happened my freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year. This was freshman year. So I'm going to try to be as politically correct as possible when I talk about this story, because if you're a member of the newsletter, if you go to bardostribe.com, get your free copy of Triple Threat, Stephen Bardo's Guide to Basketball Terminology, you will automatically be signed up for the newsletter. And for those of you that read the newsletter today, you might be a little shocked. I get it. But that's why I give you the information that I give you in the newsletter that I can't say on the air, because I'm not the type, I'm not a shock person. I don't need to do anything to disparage anybody intentionally. But if you're in the tribe, if you're in the inner part that is Bardo's Breakdown, I give you the real deal. So I'm going to give you the politically correct version here. So Ken Norman, I don't know if you guys remember Snake. Snake looked like a bodybuilder that played basketball. He had huge shoulders and arms, chest. He was just chiseled. His DNA allowed him to have, he was, what's the word? Lean, but incredibly muscular, incredibly strong. And he was a warrior. He was a dog, like great teammate. I enjoyed playing with him. I didn't enjoy his intimidation tactics because they worked on everybody except for me. My brother Craig is 6 years older than me, and he used to torment me when I was coming up. So I had to defend myself on a regular basis. And if you can imagine, you know how big a difference 6 years is when you're growing up. So my brother looked like a giant to me. And so when I got to college as a freshman, Snake used to do all that crap to everybody else. It didn't faze me because he looked like my brother to me. So it was like, dude, you come at me, we're just going to square up. That's just what it is. And I'm going to get some. I'm going to take some hits, but I'm going to get some in, right? And so there was a time when I published this book, The Flyin Illini, right? And there were a lot of people that were upset by some of the things that I said in the book. And one of them was Mark Coombs, one of our assistant coaches, who I didn't like and don't care to like right now. Just don't like the dude. I'm not going to kill him or anything like that, or just, disparage his name. Me personally, I don't get along with him. Okay. So when this book came out, there were some things that Coach Coombs didn't appreciate that I said in the book. Now, I didn't spill all the tea because if I did, the program would have been in trouble. So I didn't spill all the tea. I just talked about the nature of our team as a freshman was disjointed because we were, Ken was on one side, Snake was here, Doug Altenberger and Tony Weisinger were over here, and the rest of us are trying to figure out what the hell is going on, right? So Mark Coombs obviously said something to Snake about certain things that were said in the book. So instead of Ken Norman calling me, he goes on the radio in Chicago and says, some stuff about me and, trying to discredit me. But Ken doesn't really understand that all publicity around these types of things, whether it's positive or negative, he didn't understand it. He was just fanning the flames for people wanting to know what was in this book. He thought he was going to discredit me, but all he did was make it more interesting to where I sold close to 1,000 copies of this, right? And I have him to thank for it. But I try to reach out to him because he said on the radio, he's like, when I see Steven, I'll deal with him physically. So I got his number and tried to call him. I left him several messages. I was like, look, bro, we can pick a spot. Nobody has to be there and we can work it out. Never heard back from him, right? Because that's what bullies are. When they get punched back, they're not so much of a bully anymore, right? So, and the most disappointing thing is, ladies and gentlemen, he didn't read the book. He went on what Coach Coombs said. And who knows if Coach Coombs told him the truth or not, right? And so that's the most disappointing thing to me is that me and Snake went through the fire together. We were in battle together. Yeah, Coach Coombs was an assistant coach, but he didn't play. He wasn't on the court. He didn't run sprints. He didn't throw up on the football field when we were running sprints and in the weight room. He didn't do any of that. Me and Snake did that as teammates. And so as men, I try to confront men head on. I'm old school. You ain't got to talk about me behind my back. Come to me to my face. And we'll either we can talk it out or we'll duke it out. But at the end, we'll have an agreement to either agree or agree to disagree, and then we can move on as men. But don't go on the radio and try to discredit me and discredit the book because all you did was make it more interesting for people to want to read it, right? So that's my Flyin Illini story about Ken Norman because I want to give you guys some insight around what our experiences were back at Illinois, because now we're 30 plus years away from it. What I say is not going to, put anybody in jeopardy or anything like that. I could spill all the beans. That's not me though. That's not what I do. Right. But if you're part of the newsletter, I gave up the beans. I gave up the goods. So just so you know, if you want to get the goods, the deepest part in all of what I can share on these stories, go to bardostribe.com and sign up for the newsletter. All right. And let's see. We don't have too many people on here today. What's up, Michael? Good to see you. Racine in the house. All right. I love it. He says, I covered the Pac-12 and Big Ten and SEC. Okay, Michael. Well, then we need to converse then, because if you're covering those conferences, then maybe we need to talk. CDNIU. Curtis Dietz has a heck of a memory. That Steve Smith Michigan State team got robbed by the refs on Kenny Anderson's shot in the NCAA tournament. I do remember that. And then Curtis also talks about, I got to meet Deion twice in the last few years. Great guy. I wish he would have got to play the 4 spot instead of center like he did most of his Illini career. Curtis, I think Deion was in the right position. Whether it was the 4 or the 5, he was a back to the basket juggernaut. He was quick, and his quickness off the ground and his second jump were about as quick as you're going to see during that era. And his footwork, because he came up under Bob Hambrick, the late legendary coach at Simeon High School here in Chicago, really, really developed Dion, because by the time he got to Illinois, man, his footwork was unbelievable. You guys remember now that we didn't get a chance to play with Dion because he was Prop 48, similar to what Marcus, Nick, and Irvin were. And had Dion been able to play with Kendall, Irving, PJ, and myself, I don't know that we would have been upset by Dayton in the first round. I don't think so. I think we would have been a much more balanced team because of his inside scoring prowess and his defensive abilities as well. And so I think he was okay, Curtis, because he didn't, from my remembering his game, Dion was much more comfortable with his back to the basket. I think he could have developed more of a face-up game if Lou allowed that. But Lou was very strict in his expectations of role development, for lack of a better word. All right. I never knew what the term grandfathered in meant until you told that story a few years ago. What's up, Doug Peterson? Was Ephraim Winters still there when you got there? No, Ephraim was gone. Ephraim's senior year, I believe, was my senior year in high school, or maybe he was a year or two gone. But when I came to visit, he and Bruce Douglas, Doug Altenberger, those guys kind of showed me around. But I didn't play with Ephraim. But boy, was Ephraim tremendous. Whew. Pardon me. You talking about an athletic big that I think got maybe too bulky at that time. You guys remember Jim Rowinski and some of the bigs in the Big Ten? They were just really big, massive guys. They didn't necessarily have a lot of mobility. And so when Ephraim got to Illinois, he was a tremendously athletic guy that could move side to side. He had mobility. The stronger he got, I think, limited his mobility a little bit. But I would have loved to play with him because, shoot, you talking about assist totals going up for a point guard? Ephraim Winters will get you buckets now. All right. So my man over here has a starting lineup: Boswell, Kasparis, Will Riley, Kerry Booth, and Marez Johnson. Okay, he's got Kerry Booth in there. I thought Bim Humrickhouse, but Kerry Booth may be in there as well. That's an interesting starting five. And the thing is, guys, it's going to change. The way it starts to the way we see the start of the Big Ten Conference is probably going to shift a little bit. Again, Ivicic, I don't know what the situation with him is. We'll see if he gets cleared. It seems like he may be having similar situations as his brother did at Kentucky. Hopefully not. We'll see. But I like that starting five. Let's see. Let me remove this. Wait a minute. All right. Good question, Curtis. I'm not sure if Dion is still doing that podcast. He was doing a good job with that. I'm not sure. I have to check that out. I'm going to try to get Dion on here, though. Similar to the way I interviewed James Augustine. We want to get former players to come on Bardo's Breakdown. I've got a list of about 80 guys, and I'm trying to get more guys in the 2000s, the 2010s era, as opposed to my era. I love getting guys from my era, but I think it's good to get some of these younger former players. Now it's harder to get them because, like, for instance, some of the guys on the list, I will get Denzel Valentine. I have been talking to him, so I'll definitely get him on. Frank Kaminsky is still playing. Victor Oladipo is still playing. Trying to get Evan Turner. Trey Burke is still playing, I believe. Draymond Green is blown up so much. He's still playing with his podcast. He'll probably be a hard one to get. Carson Edwards, Ethan Happ, Cassius Winston, Aaron Kraft. Congratulations, because he just he finished up his medical degree. So now he's a practicing physician, I believe. Maybe he's going into his residency. but he's doing some things with Ohio State right now. So I'm trying to get with him. Yogi Ferrell, Jawan Johnson, Purdue, Jordan Murphy, Minnesota. You guys get the drift. I'm trying to get these guys in this era: Sam Decker, Bronson Koenig, Tyler Zeller, Brandon Paul, Christian Watford, those guys, right? So hang with me. I'm going to try to get them on because I think it's important to highlight what these guys are doing now and what their thoughts are on the current state of college athletics based on the fact that they didn't partake in the NIL era. And I'd love to get their thoughts and some of their stories for playing for some of the legendary coaches and some of the teammates that they had. I'm sure they've got some hilarious stuff that I know all of you all would enjoy just as much as I would. Let's see. Janetta Johnson. Okay, Janetta, Mr. Bardo, do you know or play against Ben Wilson? I didn't know Ben, and I didn't play against him. We were around the same. We would have played at Illinois. He was committed to come to Illinois before his tragic death. Your dad thought Marcus Liberty was better than Ben. What do you think? Woo. Scoring wise, Marcus may have been a better scorer. I think Marcus was a better scorer. Across the board skill set, I think Ben Wilson was a little bit better. Marcus was a wing. He was an elite wing with tremendous handles. Ben could have played point, wing. He could have played with his back to the basket. His overall skill set, I think, was a little bit better than Marcus's. But in terms of scoring the basketball, I think Marcus had an edge on Ben in that regard. But you know what, Janetta, your dad's opinion, he could be right because both of those guys were the number one players in the country in high school in their respective classes. So your dad could very well be right. Curtis Dees, a lot of people say this, that Ephraim Winters stayed in school too long. He should have left after the 84 Elite Eight team. A lot of people think that, Curtis. That's a common thought. M. Brotz, yeah, I know. It is taking forever to get here. We basketball diehards we're chomping at the bit. And I think, certain programs are in great, like the Purdue program has not been in better shape. I think the Indiana program is going to have a bounce back season. I think the Illinois program is in its golden era right now. I think Wisconsin you just heard from Sharif Chambliss. They've got 10 upperclassmen. And whenever Wisconsin is old, they will be in the top 4 of the conference. Now you bring UCLA. Now you bring Oregon. You bring USC. You bring Washington to the mix. Rutgers is going to be a factor. They've got 3 of the best players in the league. So, I mean, and then we have, I think somebody in Vegas picked Michigan State to win the league. So there's a tremendous level of excitement coming into this college basketball season for the Big Ten Conference. So I'm with you, Brian. It can't get here soon enough. Tremendous excitement. Hoop Baller Scoop, a good interview would be MSU's assistant coach, Thomas Kelly. I've reached out. Who did I reach out to? I reached out to somebody at Michigan State. It might have been. It may be Thomas. I don't think it was Thomas. Oh, I think I tried to reach out to Doug Wojcik. I'll reach out to Thomas because I love seeing him. Every time I see him, we chop it up. Good call, Hoop Baller Scoop. I may very well do that. Oh, Glenn Blackwell. See, Black would know because Black, did you play with him? Got too bulky. Coach Crow was big on heavy squats, and I think that messed with E's spring because I remember how bouncy he was my freshman. So Black did play with Ephraim Winters. And hey, man, look, Coach Kroll, that's what we knew at the time in terms of strength training. And like Glenn said, there was, I think Ephraim Winters may still, he had the record for squats for a basketball player. He squatted some ungodly amount. I think it was well into the 300s. And so now when you think of basketball players in strength conditioning, you would never instruct a basketball player to put that much weight on their back and to build up that kind of bulk. But yeah, so Glenn is corroborating what Curtis Dietz is saying, that maybe Ephraim might have been better suited leaving earlier. But thank you, Glenn, and for corroborating that with Ephraim Winters, in the fact that he was a tremendously gifted athlete coming into Illinois, and just got a little bit too bulky with the weight training. Hey, Black, you saw what Sharif said about your son. Now, they're expecting, and you know, we all expect a lot from Jonathan in that fantastic freshman year that he had. He'll make that sophomore leap, and he and Max Klesmit banging heads in practice. I'd love to see it, and I'm on the schedule to go watch them practice in late September. I believe it's September 25th. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Jonathan and Max Klesmit leading this Badger ball club. It's going to be fun to watch. Let's see. Now, DeChandre, I've had Mateen Cleaves on Bardo's Breakdown before. And I'm going to ask him to come back. He's doing a great job. He works, the name of the company escapes me, but he's working with Matt Ishbia's mortgage company, which I believe is the largest of the, I believe it's the largest wholesale real estate company in the country, or some sector of the real estate industry. They're the largest in the country. And I believe that Mateen is the chief energy officer of that organization. He's doing a great job. So I will definitely try to get Mateen Cleaves on, because Mateen is a very thoughtful young man and will have some insight, not only on the Michigan State program, but what's going on. He keeps his pulse. He keeps his hand pretty well into the basketball world. He has a good read on what's going on. So that's a good idea. So thank you for that. Do you know why Kugler and Gauden don't do football games anymore? Because Gauden is the voice. He does the Atlanta Braves, and they'll go deep into, you know, I don't know where the Braves are right now in terms of the standings. I'm ashamed to say I haven't really been following baseball in the last couple of years. Baseball is one of my favorite sports. I have not been following it. I hope the Braves are doing well. Brandon Gaudin is one of my favorite people on the planet. Love Brandon. And so I think the fact that he's doing that, and he may actually be doing some Fox football like Kevin Kugler is doing Fox football. He's doing NFL. So I think that's why you don't see Brandon and Kevin doing college football anymore, because Kevin's doing NFL. Been doing NFL for the last 5 or 6 years. Kevin's been calling NFL football for a while now. And Brandon, this is his second season as a voice of the Atlanta Braves. And he may, depending on how far the Braves go in the postseason, if they are going to the postseason, he may do some college football before he jumps into college basketball. I'm not sure. But that baseball grind is longer than any grind in the business. So Brandon may take some time off between the time that he leaves the Atlanta Braves and when he's doing college basketball. So he may not do any football, but I'm not sure. I don't bother Brandon during the baseball season, because it's that grind is tremendous, and you know he's got enough to worry about. Kraft was an elite defender for OSU, but one game Brandon Paul got over 40 on him. Brandon Paul is still playing professionally, It's not that Aaron Craft wasn't an elite defender. He was, but Brandon Paul's an elite baller, elite scorer. That game that you're talking about, Curtis, I was at that game. I wasn't calling the game. I was there as a spectator. Brandon missed his first 7 shots. Think about that. he was going up against a very good Ohio State team. Brandon Paul missed his first 7 shots, and he ended up with 40 points. That's how talented of a scorer he is. So take nothing away from Aaron Craft's defensive abilities, but give credit to Brandon Paul because Brandon was on fire. Think of the mentality that you have to have. If you miss your first 7 shots, but then you end the game with 40 points, that's as high level of confidence as you're going to get from a basketball player in Brandon Paul. Let's see. Ron Charles, I haven't heard of Fred Shepard. Sherpard. They called him Flip. No, I need to do some research. Have not heard of him. Who Baller Scoop of the new teams joined the Big Ten? Which ones are expected to finish in the top 5? UCLA off the top is one of the favorites in the conference, in my opinion. I think Oregon, if everything goes right, I think they can be in the top 8. I don't know if I'd put them in the top 6. I'd put Oregon in the top 8. Definitely UCLA in the top 3 or 4, in my opinion. Washington, I don't know that there's a lot of expectation on Danny Sprinkle coming in his first year. They're just cleaning, they're turning over the roster, turning over the program, trying to put their stamp on it. So I don't know that there's a lot of expectations there. And USC doing a very similar thing with Eric Musselman coming in his first year, turning the roster over. So I don't think there's a lot of expectation for USC and Washington, but UCLA and Oregon, they'll be in the mix. Carol Pole Paquette had to respond about Ephraim Winters. In 84, when Illinois played against Kentucky at Rupp, did he have a bummed ankle? Not sure about that. I will never forget hearing this Douglas to Ephraim Winters for a alley-oop. Also, what high school did he go to? Corliss in Chicago. Let me look that up real quick. Carol, Ephraim. Let's see. I have a guess. Ephraim Zimbalist Winters. I wonder how you come up. Wonder what Zimbalist means. That's the most unique middle name I've ever heard of. King High School. So he played for Sonny Cox at King High School. So Ephraim was one of those King Jaguars. Let's see. Carol said that Brandon had a huge block to seal that game as well. So it seems like Brandon did everything but sell popcorn and posters at halftime. Well, okay. You could be right. I've got history on my side. So we'll see. We will see. Oh, heck yeah. I remember Brandon Dawson. He's a baller. He's one of the guys I'm trying to get on the show. I don't know if he's still playing. He's really dropped off in terms of mentions of him or Michigan State talking about him. I did a quick search. I didn't go in depth. There's not a lot of information out there on Brandon Dawson. Brendan Dawson, I believe it was. Brandon, what? Yeah, I don't know that there's a lot of information on him. I may have to reach out to Mex, Michigan State Sports Information Director, to try to track him down and see what's going on with him. But, boy, he was a tough college player. Very strong, could score, defend, rebound. He could do a little bit of everything. I really liked his game. Oh, Thomas Dag. What's up, Thomas? I was at that game in Rupp and do not remember Ephraim having a bad ankle. Carol, I believe that was Lowell Hamilton in the Sweet 16 game versus Louisville. I think that you may be getting mixed up with, maybe. But thank you, Thomas. Good to hear from you, my man. Always good to see you. Doug Peterson said Ephraim Zimbalist was a dude from the old FBI TV show. Oh, okay. Thank you for that. I had no. Okay, yep. M. Broad said the same thing. Ephraim Zimbalist was the character of the '60s show, The FBI. Hey, that's why I love the tribe. That's why I love Bartle's Breakdown, doing this stuff, because you guys educate me, because I had no idea. I was like, Zimbalist, but there it is. So Ephraim was born. Ephraim was a December 19th, 1963. So it made sense. A popular show, FBI, that was on the air. A lot of kids in our era were named after either popular musicians, some popular actors or actresses, um, public figures, so to speak. So Ephraim Zimbalist, I love that. Thank you guys. That's great. Oh, this is so much fun. This is something else. Wisconsin has finished top 4 once in the last 4 years. Barely made a tournament in 2021 with a starting 5 of all seniors. All right, we'll see. I appreciate you bringing that up, but we'll see. Used to put a stick of gum in his sock before every game. Carol, I think a lot of players did that. And sometimes it wouldn't be gum. It would be like I remember somebody like taping a paper clip or a ring. It was like, I don't know why people would do that, but that was a common practice. But thanks for bringing it up, because I'd forgotten all about that. Oh, Kyrie. There's a reason they called him the Wizard. Walt Williams is about 6'7", long arms, and the ball was attached to his hand. And so Walt could get anywhere on the floor that he wanted to. Was an excellent elite passer, elite scorer. He could do a little bit of everything, and that's why they called him the Wizard. Yeah, he go back and go to YouTube and put in Walt Williams and see what you come up with. I think you'll be impressed. He was very, very, very talented. Very talented. Derek Chivas. Funny thing, Carol, Derek Chivas and I talked recently on the phone, and Derek does this really cool thing that he'll send me a message every morning. Good morning, or he'll send a prayer or something 5 days a week. I hear from Derek Chivas every morning. He was the Band-Aid man. And I love staying in touch with these guys from my era. Had a great conversation with BJ Armstrong and Michael Payne from Iowa recently. I think you guys, if you're on Facebook, you saw this picture that I posted with Ed Horton and BJ Armstrong. They had a reunion of sorts back at Iowa last week. And it was tremendous, man. The pictures, and then the love that BJ and Michael were saying that was present during the reunion. Fran McCaffrey, Sherman Dillard, the assistant, came and hung out with the guys and chopped it up with them. It was fantastic. And so, me getting around these guys, and I think I told you guys I went to the NBRPA convention, the Retired Players Convention out in Vegas, and Derek Coleman, Sean Higgins, Walter Bond, Cedric Ceballos. I'm hanging out with all the guys from my era, and man, the older I get, the better it gets being around these guys. And we do understand that we're getting older, and so we've lost some of our compadres. So the fact that we stay connected like this is tremendous. So thanks for reminding me of Derek Chivas, Carol. I appreciate that. Um, I don't really think about the most overrated because my job is tough enough to cover in the conference as it is. I don't really go there with that. Um, I don't. Okay, but think about this. You talking about severely underperforms preseason expectations, right? So you talk about the two Michigan teams last year, right? So Michigan had injuries. Their head coach was in turmoil based on his health situation. He probably shouldn't have coached last year. He came back because he felt pressure for his job. Um, so that was hovering around them all season long. They had some very unusual situations uh, that precluded them from playing better. Michigan State, they had some guys banged up. If you remember, uh, Jeremy Fears was shot in the leg and lost for the season. Um, they had some different things. I think Malik Hall was banged up off and on all season. Um, Jackson Kohler didn't play half the season. He was banged up and injured. So a lot of times when people think that teams severely underperform, there's generally a reason for that. So that's why I don't really go there in terms of severely underperforming or expectations, because again, expectations are people's guesses. We're all guessing here, right? We don't know the chemistry of how these teams are going to come together. We don't know if a player loses a parent or a loved one. We don't know these things. We're not privy to all the information. So I don't really delve into all of that. Miguel, I think this is your first time on here. If it is, welcome to Bardo's Breakdown. Appreciate you joining us. Does BJ Armstrong still look 19? That dude never ages. He's an agent, right? I think he still is, Miguel. I think he's still in that world. He's been in the front office of the NBA. I think I don't think he's been a coach, but he's definitely been in the front office. He's been an agent. Um, and the only reason that he's aged is because he's got a little salt and pepper. He's not like me, but he's got a little bit of salt and pepper now. So that's the only thing. But that boyish big smile and that wonderful spirit that BJ has is still there. Definitely still there. Okay, you could say UCLA is most overrated all you want to, but anybody that knows if Mick Cronin comes off of a season that he didn't do well and the talent that they've got now on that roster, I guarantee you one thing. This is a guarantee. If UCLA isn't the best defensive team in the Big Ten this year, they'll be the second best. Those are guarantees I can make. UCLA will be, if not the best defensive team, they'll be top two defensive teams in the Big Ten this season. I can guarantee you that. Unless they have injuries to key personnel, they're going to get after you on the defensive end. They're going to make it very difficult for teams to score. That's a hallmark of Mick Cronin teams. And they had injuries last year. Things didn't work out. Trust me, UCLA will not be overrated. I won't guarantee it because I can't foresee injuries or anything like that. But I have a strong opinion that they will not be overrated. Oh, man. Miguel, great question. What coaching matchup maybe looking forward to? Miguel's is Tom Izzo versus Dana Altman and Mick Cronin. And we get them matchups maybe twice a year. Okay. Well, look, you could put the 18 coaches in a hat, mix them up, throw them down, close your eyes, and pick two out, and they're great matchups. Don't sleep on Minnesota and Ben Johnson, guys. Don't sleep on them. Ben knows what he's doing. And he's got an all Big Ten performer coming back in Dawson Garcia. Don't sleep on them. There's nobody you can sleep on in this conference, guys. Washington is going to be thought of. Washington and Minnesota are going to be thought of as at the bottom of the league. Trust me. Ask Mick Cronin. Ask Tom Izzo. Ask Matt Painter. Do they want to go to Minnesota in January and February? Or to make a trip out to Seattle, which is a difficult trip. That's a long flight coming from the Midwest. Okay? Or you think that Rutgers isn't going to be top 5 because those 2 freshmen coming in are freshmen. Think again. As talented as those guys are, as talented as JaMychal Davis is, and the bigs that they've got now, and the way that Steve Pikiell prepares his team on the defensive end, I don't think there's any premier coaching matchups that I want to see them all. And I'm not saying that just to be politically correct, because those of you all that follow Bardo's Breakdown, y'all know that I speak my mind. I speak my opinion. And I've been wrong. But I'm looking forward to all of them. You get a Hall of Fame coach and Tom Izzo against anybody. I need to see it. I want to see it. So I like what you're saying here. Tom Izzo versus Dana Altman. Great matchup. Strategic matchup. But Greg Gard against Mike Woodson. I'm here for it all. Sign me up. I need to see it. Okay, Fly Line, I Fly. I think most underrated is Oregon. I don't disagree with you. Dana Altman can coach, y'all, and he always has talent. Long, lengthy, athletic guys, and they play 15 different defenses. And when Oregon was really at their Elite Eights, consecutive Elite Eights, Tony Stubblefield was the lead assistant. Tony Stubblefield is now back on the staff with Oregon. So the pieces from the coaching staff perspective at Oregon are in place for them to be elite once again. So Fly Line, I Fly. I would agree with you on that. Mother, let's talk. Send me a message. I'll take that bet. Let's have a friendly wager. I would normally let me not go there. Send me a message. Let's have a friendly wager on that. Okay? Let's have a friendly wager on that. Don't have the Illini in the top 30. Talk about underrated. I mean, but again, in Broads and fans, whoever you're rooting for in the Big Ten, don't get caught up in the preseason guesses, because that's all it is. Preseason top 25. I know that gets fans excited and whatnot, but don't look too much into that. Don't get upset by that, because the people that do those things, they do as good a job as they possibly can. But pardon me, for the most part, they're guessing. They're making an educated guess. Let's put it like that. They're looking at the returning players, the incoming players, the incoming freshmen, what the team did last season, all those different things, and they're making educated guesses. That's it. So don't get too upset on those things. Curtis, stop giving up the goods, man. I'm trying to win my bet. Fly Line Out Fly says outside of Illinois is Oregon. Okay. I don't disagree. Guys, don't forget, go to bartostribe.com. Sign up for your free copy of Triple Threat, Stephen Bardo's Guide to Basketball Terminology. We're going to have a new lead magnet. It's called The Guide to the New Big Ten, and it's fantastic. Okay? Look out for that here soon. I don't want to roll out too soon because we still got 2 months, and college football is really capturing the attention of a lot of people, a lot of college athletics fans, as rightfully so. But give me about 2-3 weeks. We're about 40 days out. I'll roll out the guide to the new Big Ten. You guys are gonna love it. But until that time, if you're not a part of the tribe, go to bardostribe.com and get your free copy. Okay. And you'll get signed up for the newsletter where you'll get the juiciest of the Flyin Illini stories that I had to be politically correct with on the air. But I gave the goods, I gave the tea on the newsletter. So I encourage you guys to go sign up when you get a chance. All right. Again, thanks for watching Bardo's Breakdown. You guys, man, we had a good amount of people watching today, and this is a holiday. So I really appreciate your support. Thank you so much. Make sure you go check out bardostribe.com. And until next time, holla, y'all.